My name is Eric. I'm 38 years old. And if you asked me 5 years ago what I wanted in life, I'd have said something simple: peace, a family, a home where the lights stayed on because we wanted them to, not because we needed to feel safe. I thought I had that. Her name was Vanessa. Vanessa and I met the way most couples do these days, through mutual friends at a party that neither of us really wanted to attend. She had this dry humor and a smirk that made everything she said sound smarter than it probably was. We clicked. Fast. Within a year, we were married. I was working in IT for a mid-sized firm in Chicago. She was finishing up her degree in psychology. Life wasn't perfect, but it felt right. For the first few years, I thought we were solid. We'd argue sometimes about money, or how often I traveled for work. But nothing unusual. At least, that's what I told myself. Looking back, I can see things now that I couldn't back then. Like how she stopped holding my hand in public, or how she flinched when I hugged her unexpectedly. I chalked it up to stress. I thought she just needed time. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Thursday. I remember that because I had just landed a new client and was feeling pretty good about myself. I brought home her favorite Thai takeout and a bottle of wine. When I got home, she wasn't there. Her car was gone. No note. No text. Just an empty house. I didn't panic. Not at first. I figured she ran to the store or maybe went to see her sister. But hours passed, and she didn't come back. At midnight, I called her. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. At 2 a.m., I heard her keys. She walked in like nothing had happened. No apology. No explanation. Just a tired smile and a shrug. Where were you? I asked. She blinked at me, clearly annoyed. Out. I needed air. Is that a crime now? We fought. She yelled. I begged. She accused me of controlling her. I asked her if she was seeing someone. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. Just this cold silence that hung in the air like smoke. That's when I started to notice the pattern. The late nights. The way she kept her phone on silent. How she suddenly had a password on her laptop. She said I was being paranoid. Maybe I was. But paranoia doesn't mean you're wrong. A week later, I found the messages. I wasn't trying to snoop. Her phone lit up while she was in the shower. It was instinct. I looked. What I saw made my stomach drop. His name was Caleb. I didn't know him. But from the way she wrote to him, it was clear. This wasn't new. This had been going on for months, maybe longer. There were photos, inside jokes, plans. She told him things she never told me. She said she missed him while lying in our bed. She said she felt alive with him. I didn't confront her right away. I just shut down. I went through the next few days like I was underwater. Everything felt distant, blurry. When she smiled at me, it felt like a lie. When she kissed me, I felt disgusted. I finally broke one night while we were watching a movie. She was laughing at something on her phone. Probably him. I paused the movie. I know, I said. She looked up. Know what? About Caleb. There was a pause. Then she laughed. Not nervously, not apologetically, but like I just told her the funniest joke. Oh my God, are you serious? She said. You're reading my messages now? Jesus, Eric. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just stared at her. She sighed, then tossed her phone on the couch. Fine. Yeah, I slept with him. A few times. You happy now? I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was numb. Watching her confess it so easily, like it meant nothing. That's what broke me. Why? I asked. She rolled her eyes. Because I was bored. Because you're boring. Because I needed to feel something. I got up and left the room. Not because I wanted to, but because if I stayed, I would have said something I couldn't take back. The next few days were hell. She acted like everything was normal. Like this was just a bump in the road. She still made coffee in the morning. Still left the light on for me at night. But something in me had shifted. I started sleeping on the couch. I stopped trying to fix things. And for the first time, I started imagining my life without her in it. What hurt most wasn't the betrayal. It was how little she seemed to care about it. How quickly she moved on from it. Like she had been waiting for me to find out. Like she wanted an excuse to be cruel. I told no one. Not my brother. Not my coworkers. I didn't want pity. I didn't want advice. I just wanted answers that I knew she'd never give me. But then, one afternoon, I got a call from someone I didn't expect. His name was Jordan. He used to work with Vanessa years ago at a youth counseling center. He said he needed to talk to me about Vanessa. And what he told me that day opened a door I didn't know existed. One that led straight into a part of Vanessa's life I had never seen. A part she'd buried deep, full of secrets, shadows, and something darker than just infidelity. I didn't know it then, but everything I thought I knew about her was about to be torn apart. What she hid from me. I met Jordan the next day at a quiet diner just outside the city. It was one of those old places with torn booths and the smell of burnt coffee lingering in the air. He looked older than I remembered, rougher around the edges. I hadn't seen him in years, not since Vanessa quit the center where they both used to work. He didn't waste time. "Eric," he said, looking me in the eyes, "I wouldn't have reached out unless I thought it mattered. But I think you deserve to know who you've really been married to." I didn't say anything, just nodded. I was still trying to process why a guy from her past wanted to talk to me now, out of the blue. "She used to be different," he continued. "Back then, Vanessa was intense. Brilliant, even, but unstable. The kind of person who could make you feel like the most important person in the room one day, and then act like you never existed the next." I stayed quiet. He could have been talking about someone else entirely, and I wouldn't have known. There were parts of Vanessa I had never seen. Or maybe I had, and I'd just chosen to ignore them. "Did she ever tell you about the kid?" Jordan asked. That caught me off guard. "What kid?" He exhaled slowly. "Back when we worked at the center, there was a boy. 15. Quiet. Came from a rough home. Vanessa got attached. Too attached. She started bending rules, sneaking him food, money, giving him rides without logging them. One day, the kid just disappeared. I stared at him, unsure how to respond. There was an internal investigation. They didn't find anything linking her to it, not officially. But a few of us had our doubts, especially when she quit right after. No warning. Just gone. I leaned back, my stomach twisting. "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because when I saw your name pop up on LinkedIn a few weeks ago, I recognized it. And I started wondering if she ever changed. But then I heard she'd been spotted with someone, Caleb, right? The same pattern, different face. I figured if you didn't already know, it was only a matter of time." I left that diner with more questions than answers. Part of me wanted to write it off, chalk it up to gossip or old resentment. But another part of me, the part that had lived with Vanessa for 6 years, knew there was truth in his words. That night, I brought it up. "I talked to Jordan," I said. "He told me about the boy who went missing." Vanessa didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She just stared at me like I'd crossed a line. "That's none of your business," she said quietly. "You were married to me. That makes it my business." She stood, grabbed her wine glass, and walked to the kitchen. "You don't know what you're talking about, Eric. Then tell me. Help me understand. Because I don't know who you are anymore." She turned slowly, her face pale. "That boy tried to take his own life. I found him before it happened. I did what I could, but I wasn't supposed to get involved. They would have fired me anyway, so I quit. Why didn't you tell me?" She hesitated. "Because you already thought I was the good girl, the stable one. I didn't want you to see the cracks. I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. But something didn't sit right. She was good at rewriting her own stories. And I was tired of being the one who kept falling for them. That week, I moved into a hotel. Just for a while, I told myself, just to get space. But in truth, I needed distance from her lies. I needed to breathe again. The first night away, I slept for 9 hours straight. No arguments. No cold silences. Just quiet. It was the best I'd felt in months. But peace doesn't last long when there are still loose ends. Caleb, the man she cheated on me with. I knew his name, and after a little digging, I found his social media. He was younger, athletic, smug from the looks of his photos. The kind of guy who treated consequences like an afterthought. And one night, after a few drinks and a lot of rage, I messaged him. "We need to talk, man to man." He responded within minutes. "I was wondering when you'd reach out." We met in a public park in broad daylight. I didn't trust myself enough for anything else. Caleb was exactly what I expected, arrogant, cocky, and smug. "She never told me she was married at first," he said casually. "When I found out, she said you two were basically roommates. Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night?" He laughed. "Hey, I didn't force her into anything. If you want to be mad at someone, be mad at her." He had a point. A sickening one, but still stood. I started to walk away, but he called after me. You know, she told me something weird once. Said she's always waiting for the other shoe to drop. That people eventually leave, so she just makes the first move. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My chest ached in a way I hadn't felt since I lost my father. That same hollow, echoing kind of pain. I went back to the hotel and stared at the ceiling for hours. Maybe she wasn't a monster. Maybe she was just broken in ways I never understood. But if that was true, did it excuse what she did? The lies? The infidelity? The way she laughed in my face? I didn't have answers. Just exhaustion. And a growing sense that I couldn't carry this pain by myself anymore. I made the hardest call in my life that night. I called my mom. She always knew something was off, but never pushed. When I told her everything, the affair, the lies, the kid from the past, she didn't say, "I told you so." She just listened. And then she said something I'll never forget. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to be whole. I don't know if I was trying to fix Vanessa. Maybe I was trying to fix myself through her. But I knew then that staying with her would destroy me. Slowly, quietly, in ways that I'd never recover from. I filed for divorce the next week. I thought that would be the end. But it wasn't. Because just when I thought I had finally stepped away from her chaos, Vanessa showed up on my doorstep. Crying, begging, saying she made a mistake. I hadn't seen her in 3 weeks. That was the longest we'd ever gone without speaking since we met. I didn't block her. I didn't change my number. I just disconnected. From everything. From her. From the memories. From the wreckage of a marriage I no longer recognized. So when the knock came, I wasn't ready. It was late. Around 10. I opened the door, expecting a package or maybe a neighbor. It was Vanessa. No muck-up. No dramatic entrance. Just her, in a hoodie and jeans, eyes red, face pale. She looked like a different person. Like someone who hadn't slept. Or eaten. Or maybe even felt safe. I didn't say anything. Just stood there. She broke first. "I messed up," she said, voice cracking. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was too little, too late, and far too simple for the mess she'd made. She stepped forward. "Please, Eric, just let me explain." I hesitated. Every instinct told me to close the door, to protect what little was left of me. But something in her expression stopped me. So I let her in. She sat on the edge of the couch like she didn't deserve to take up space. I stayed standing. "I didn't come here to ask you to come back," she said. "I know I broke this. I know I ruined everything. But I need you to hear the whole story." I crossed my arms, waiting. She took a deep breath. "When I met Caleb, it wasn't planned. I wasn't looking to cheat. I wasn't even looking to feel anything. I was drowning, Eric. I felt like I was disappearing in our life. Like every day, I was performing the role of your wife, but I couldn't remember who I really was underneath it. I wanted to stop her, tell her that wasn't an excuse. That boredom isn't a license to betray. But I kept quiet. She kept going. "You didn't do anything wrong. That's the worst part. You were good to me. You were steady. You gave me everything I asked for. But that made me feel worse. Like I was this hollow person you kept loving without even realizing I was already gone." She started crying. Not loud. Just silent tears falling fast and hard. "I never laughed because I thought it was funny," she whispered. "I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. I was terrified. I've been lying for so long, I didn't know how to stop." I sat down, not close, just far enough that I could see her clearly. She looked up at me. "You asked me once why I did it. I've been asking myself the same thing. And the truth is, I don't know. All I know is I broke something sacred. And I don't expect forgiveness. I needed you to know I'm not proud of what I did. I am ashamed. Deeply. It was the first time I'd seen real remorse in her eyes. And that made it worse. Because now I had to feel something other than hate. I asked the only question I had left. "Did you love him?" She shook her head. "No. I loved what he made me forget. For a while. But love? No. That was always you." I didn't respond. I couldn't. She left after that. Quietly. She didn't ask to stay. Didn't beg for another chance. She just nodded once, like she understood that her apology wouldn't undo anything. And then she was gone. For days, I replayed in my mind. The words. The look on her face. The trembling in her voice. It didn't change what she'd done, but it added depth to it. And pain is always sharper when you understand its roots. I started seeing a therapist. At first, I didn't want to. But the nights were getting harder. The silence in my apartment was becoming a kind of monster. So I gave a try. She asked me what I wanted to get out of therapy. Closure, I said, but I didn't know what closure even meant. Was it forgetting? Forgiving? Moving on without bitterness? The therapist told me closure doesn't always mean an ending. Sometimes it means understanding what part you played in a story, even if it wasn't your fault. That stuck with me. I didn't cause Vanessa's betrayal, but I ignored the signs. I let my fear of confrontation silence me. I wanted the marriage to work so badly, I overlooked the cracks. She wasn't the only one who disappeared. I did too, in a quieter, slower way. About a month after her visit, I got a call. It was Vanessa. "I'm leaving the city," she said. "Taking a job up north. Thought you should know." I thanked her. "Wish her well." Then she paused. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Eric. I just didn't know how to be that for you." I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just felt peace. But peace doesn't mean your heart stops aching. Sometimes it just means you've stopped blaming yourself. Then, out of nowhere, life threw me another curveball. A woman named Dana messaged me on Facebook. Said she knew Caleb, that she'd been involved with him too. Said she found my name on a message thread he never deleted. She wanted to talk. Said there were things I didn't know. Things that would change everything I thought I understood about what really happened between Vanessa and Caleb. The woman who knew him too. Her name was Dana. We agreed to meet at a small cafe near Lakeview. Public, open, safe. I wasn't sure what she looked like until she walked in, tall, mid-30s, professional, guarded. She carried herself like someone who had been through enough to stop apologizing for how she moved through the world. We made eye contact. She walked straight over to me and sat down without waiting for an invitation. "Thanks for meeting," she said. "This is going to sound strange, but I need to tell you something." I nodded, unsure what to expect. She pulled out her phone and opened a gallery of screenshots. Then she slid it across the table to me. "Caleb's not who you think he is. He's not just some guy your wife had an affair with. He's done this before. To me. To others." I stared at the screen. Messages. Photos. The same charm, the same tone, the same lines. Dana looked tired. I was with him for 6 months. Thought he was divorced. Thought he was starting over. He had a different name on one of his socials. Used Chris sometimes. I found out after I caught him messaging 2 other women while lying in my bed. I shifted uncomfortably, the old rage returning in my chest. "But it gets worse," she continued. "I did some digging after I left him. Found out he has a history. Restraining orders in 2 states. Financial manipulation. Emotional abuse. He preys on women who are isolated, confused, vulnerable. And Vanessa?" I asked, barely getting her name out. "She's just one of many. He plays the same game every time. Makes them feel seen, alive, different. Until he's bored. Then he ghosts. Or worse, uses what they gave him against them. I don't know if your wife cheated because of him, or if he targeted her because he saw something broken in her." I sat back, stunned. For months I'd seen Caleb as this smug homewrecker. But now, he was starting to look more like a professional manipulator. A predator in plain clothes. "I'm telling you this," Dana said, "because I know what it feels like to be left with pieces and no explanation." I thought I was crazy, until I realized I wasn't the only one. I thanked her genuinely. She gave me her number, in case I ever needed more information. Then she left, just as quickly as she came. That night, I sat in my apartment for hours staring at the walls. Processing. Had Vanessa been a victim? Or had she willingly played along with someone darker than I realized? The lines between villain and victim were starting to blur. I thought about reaching out to her. Not because I wanted her back, but because I needed the truth. All of it. I texted her. "We need to talk. Not to reopen wounds. Just to understand." She agreed. We met in a park downtown. Neutral ground. She looked thinner. Tired. But clearer, somehow. Like the fog that had once surrounded her was lifting. I told her about Dana. About Caleb's patterns. About the women. The fake names. The manipulation. Vanessa didn't seem surprised. "I knew," she said softly. "Not all of it, but enough. I saw the signs. I didn't want to face them." "Why him?" I asked. She shrugged. "He made me feel like I was in control, even when I wasn't. That's the thing about people like him. They make you believe the lies are your idea. She paused, looking at the skyline in the distance. He said he could save me from myself, that I was too smart for a quiet life, that you were holding me back. I believed it because I wanted to. I watched her closely. There was no defensiveness in her now. No excuses. Just broken honesty. I think part of me wanted to destroy everything, she whispered. So I wouldn't have to admit I was the one falling apart. Her words hit harder than I expected. I saw someone unraveling, not from guilt, but from finally admitting the damage she caused wasn't just collateral. It was intentional in moments, even if it came from a place of pain. Did you love me? I asked again. I did, and I hated myself for it, because love felt like something I didn't deserve. We sat in silence. Then she turned to me. I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. Not just pretending. I know it's too late for us, Eric. I know that. But I want you to know I'm trying. For the first time, I believed her. I didn't forgive her, not yet. Maybe not ever fully. But I saw her differently now. Not as a monster. Not as a victim. But as a complicated person who made selfish, devastating choices and was finally owning them. And in a strange way, that gave me permission to let go. Of the anger. Of the shame. Of the idea that I could have fixed her. But just as I started to feel a sense of peace, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was from Vanessa's old workplace, the youth center. They wanted to talk to me about something they'd found during a recent audit. A file. An unsigned report. A missing case that had never been fully closed. The boy who disappeared. And suddenly, the past wasn't finished with me yet. The case that never closed. The call came on a Wednesday. I was on my way to pick up dry cleaning when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. Hi, is this Eric Hanley? Yes. Who's this? This is Carmen Reyes. I'm the director of the Youth Outreach Center on West Hill. You don't know me, but your wife, ex-wife, Vanessa used to work here. I pulled over, suddenly on high alert. Okay, what's this about? She hesitated. I don't want to alarm you. But we found something during an internal review. A file that includes your name, among others. It's about a missing minor, Dante Willis. You may have heard of him. I froze. That name. Jordan had mentioned him. The boy Vanessa had grown too close to. The one who vanished. Yeah, I said carefully. What about him? His case was never officially closed. But there was a staff report, and signed. It was tucked away in an old HR folder. It describes a situation that suggests Vanessa may have known more than she ever shared about what really happened to Dante. I didn't know what to say. My mind raced with 100 questions. Carmen continued. We've reopened an internal inquiry. It's not a criminal investigation yet, but since your name appears in the file as an emergency contact she once listed, we felt you had a right to know. She offered to send over a copy. I gave her my email and hung up, heart pounding. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at the document on my screen. It was short, just 2 pages, but it felt like it weighed 100 pounds. In it, Vanessa described Dante as unstable, withdrawn, and in danger. She said he'd confided in her about running away, about his fear of going back to his abusive home. She wrote that she was worried he might do something drastic. But there was one line that changed everything. He asked if I could help him disappear. I read it over and over. That sentence, that implication, it wasn't a cry for help. It was a confession. Had she helped him vanish? I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Everything I thought I knew about Vanessa, about the worst thing she'd ever done, was being rewritten in real time. The next day, I called her. She answered on the 3rd ring. Eric, we need to talk. It's about Dante. There was a long silence. Then she said, okay. We met again. This time a quiet pier outside the city. It was overcast. Fitting. I handed her the printed file. She didn't even flinch. I was hoping they never found that, she said softly. So it's true. She nodded slowly, eyes distant. He begged me. He was terrified. Said if he stayed, his stepdad would kill him. He'd already tried to end his life once. I didn't know what to do. You were supposed to report it. You were supposed to help him legally. I tried, but the system was slow. He didn't have time. I had a friend in another state, someone who worked in a shelter under a fake name. We got him out. I used my savings to pay for the bus. That's why I quit. I knew if they found out, I'd lose my license. maybe worse. I stared at her. You help a minor run away. And never said a word. Not to me. Not to anyone. Her voice cracked. Because if he ever got found, I didn't want him dragged back. He was safe, Eric. I checked in on him through my friend for a year after. Then he disappeared completely. And if he wasn't safe, I said, voice rising, if he ended up hurt, or worse. She looked at me with eyes full of guilt. Then that's on me. She sat down on the bench behind her, trembling. I've lived with that for years. The affair wasn't even the worst thing I've done. It was just the most obvious. But this is the weight I carry every day. I sat beside her. Not close, but not far. You never thought I could handle the truth? I asked. She looked at me, eyes wet. No, I thought if you knew everything, you'd finally see what I see when I look in the mirror, a broken, reckless person who ruins things. I didn't want you to see me like that. I wanted to protect you from it. I didn't speak for a long time. And when I did, it wasn't anger. It was sadness. You never gave me the chance to love you fully. Not the real you. She broke then. Her shoulders shook as she cried. Not like the other times. This was raw, helpless, like someone mourning a version of themselves that never existed. We sat in silence until the sun dipped low on the horizon. She turned to me one last time. I'm leaving for good, she said. No more half-truths. No more running. I'm going to turn over the letter. Cooperate with the inquiry. Maybe it's time to stop hiding. I nodded. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't ask her to stay. I just nodded. Because for once, she was doing the right thing. Even if it came too late. Even if it was never going to fix what we lost. That night, I walked home through quiet streets. And for the first time in years, I felt light. Not happy, but free. But just when I thought that was the end, I got one last letter. Not for Vanessa. Not from Caleb. But from someone I never expected. Dante. He was alive. And he wanted to meet me. The reckoning. The letter arrived on a Wednesday, folded inside a plain white envelope with no return address. The handwriting was tight, careful. I knew the name the moment I saw it. Dante Willis. I read the first line 3 times before I could move on. If you're reading this, Vanessa told you the truth. Or enough of it. I'm writing because she said you were different. Said you listened. Said you tried. My hands were trembling. She saved my life. Whatever else she did, whatever she broke, I owe her that. And now I owe you something too. Because she told me you carried her pain for too long. I don't know what that looks like, but I imagine it's heavy. He included a number. A meeting place. I debated for 2 days before I texted him. I'll be there. We met at a community center 2 hours out of Chicago. He worked there now, helping teens like the one he used to be. When I walked into the modest hall, I saw him instantly. Taller now. Solid. But his eyes still held that quiet sadness, the kind you don't recover from. Just learn to live with. He approached with a firm handshake. No fear, just quiet strength. Eric, he said. Dante. We sat outside on a bench facing the street. There was no small talk, just silence until I broke it. I wasn't sure if you were real. He nodded slowly. I wasn't for a long time. I was just surviving. Vanessa gave me the out, but I still had to choose to live. I looked at him, really looked at him. She didn't tell me everything, just that she helped you disappear, that she was trying to protect you. He exhaled. She did more than that. She believed me when no one else would. My stepdad used to beat me so bad I'd black out. My mom pretended not to see it. I was already halfway out the door when Vanessa stepped in. I felt a familiar ache return to my chest. She gave me the number of someone who could help. Gave me the money. Didn't ask for anything. Didn't try to control me. Just gave me the choice. That was the first time anyone ever did that. He paused. His voice grew quieter. I know she hurt you. I'm not excusing what she did. But whatever she was to you, she was a lifeline to me. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Then he said something I didn't expect. She told me she wanted to die once. After the affair. After you left. She said she'd never felt more ashamed in her life. But then she remembered that letter I wrote her after I settled into the new shelter. I told her I'd made friends. That I had food. That I didn't feel afraid anymore. He looked straight at me. She said that letter kept her from doing it. I swallowed hard. All this time, I'd seen her as the person who shattered me, who laughed when I caught her, who made me feel small and invisible. But she was also someone who, quietly, saved a life. More than once, maybe, and that didn't excuse what she did to me, but made it more complicated. I hated her, I admitted. I would have too, he said. I wanted her to suffer. He nodded again, then said gently, sometimes people already are. We didn't say much after that. There wasn't much more to say. When we stood, he shook my hand again and looked me in the eye. You're not the man she broke. You're the man who survived it. And with that, he left. I drove home in silence. No music, no distractions. That night, I wrote Vanessa a letter. I didn't send it. I didn't need to. I told her I forgave her. Not because she earned it, but because I didn't want to carry her weight anymore. I told her I hoped she kept healing, that I believed she could. I told her goodbye. For good. A year has passed since then. I've moved into a new place. It's not big, but it's mine. I started hiking, traveling, laughing again without guilt. I'm not the man I was before the affair, before the lies. I'm not as trusting. I'm slower to open up, but I'm also more honest, more grounded. I don't pretend anymore, and I don't romanticize pain. Forgiveness didn't come in a moment. It came in pieces. It came in therapy, in long walks with no destination, in that conversation with Dante, in finally realizing that someone else's brokenness doesn't have to become my identity. People always talk about closure like it's a door that slams shut, but mine felt more like a window opening, letting in air, letting in light, and letting go.